Hello, I'm Pam Hoffman, Everyday Spacer.
I'm Jeff Miller, 2049 Outfitters.
At Everyday Spacer, we show regular folks how to personally and directly participate in space exploration, science, and astronomy. We're here on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, 12 midnight Eastern, and 2 p.m. on Saturday in Queensland, Australia. We're broadcasting live from Thousand Oaks, California.
Tonight's topic is Space Week and Apollo 11. We'll be back in 8.3 seconds.
Once upon a time, we called this week in July Space Week. The idea was to celebrate the launch, landing, and return of Apollo 11 from the Earth to the Moon and back again. Then Space Week got moved to October. The explanation was this was to incorporate space exploration in schools, and our public schools here in the United States are not in session in July. Now it's called World Space Week, which is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, and before I go on, hey Cliff.
Welcome.
Hi Scott.
Hey Scott. Thanks for joining us, folks.
Okay, we were talking about between the two of us talking about doing the history of Apollo 11. This show is about things that you can do yourself. So we'll touch on the history and suggest some resources to look up the history so that you can look it up yourselves.
Hey Dawn, welcome.
Hi Don.
Thanks for being here.
Besides, I don't think we can do justice to the history of Apollo 11 in this short of a show.
The study of spacer history is certainly an activity you can pursue. I'm a bit more focused on taking action now and planning for the future. Apollo 11 launched on July 16th, 1969, and the lunar module landed on the moon on July 29th, 1969. Nope, sorry, I got that wrong, didn't I? So that's when they came back, right?
Yes.
29th? I beg pardon, my notes are wrong. They landed on the 20th.
Yep.
July 20th. And they came back to the Earth on July 29th, 1969. And this brought Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin to the surface while Michael Collins remained in orbit around the moon. Jeff and I actually both were old enough, I guess, to watch the launch on the family television in our living rooms when we were kids.
Yep. And just as a personal note, my mom was 30 years old to the day when they launched.
When they launched on the 16th?
Yeah, on the 16th.
All right. And I think Jeff's going to kick us off with, let's see. Let me go ahead and share this.
Yep. Yeah, let me go so that I can see it. Okay. So, movies and books, because history is great, but I think that sometimes in movie and book form, it's more easily digestible. And I'm not talking like dry history texts. I'm talking about things like The Right Stuff. And this is actually the book. I read this when I don't know how old I was when I read it. Let's see, the year it came out was when I read it. So, it's been around for a while.
Hey, Cliff, thanks for joining us. And we were a little bit younger than that, Jeff and I.
Yeah. But so looking at movies and books, just for the easiest route, the movies, Apollo 11 here is a really good documentary. Haven't seen it available on Amazon. I looked. Apollo 11 First Steps Edition. But what I found was, what's that?
Scott says, I watched it while sitting on a little portable toilet working on getting out of diapers. So you're a little bit younger than we were.
Yeah.
Okay, we were.
Yep. Because I was sitting on a little wooden chair that I had.
Oh.
I
think I was probably like this on the living room floor, propped up on my elbows, laying on my tummy.
Yeah.
That was standard for me at that time.
Yeah, so I was looking for the book version of that movie or the movie version, and and this Apollo 11, the first steps, which was great documentary. I mean, it was a pretty good documentary. All about Apollo 11, had a lot of original footage from it.
Nice.
Which, as good as The Right Stuff is, it was all new actors. I mean, there was some outside footage of the actual rockets and stuff like that. But Apollo 11, the first steps, used actual footage of the actual people. So
nice.
I think that's a good one to watch. And they're all going to have their own twists. Nothing's without a viewpoint. First Man is about John Glenn. He's that one's pretty good. Chasing the Moon. I know I've seen it. I don't remember. And if you notice, Hulu. This one doesn't say the Roku channel. I actually haven't seen this in the places that I can get to, but Roku, Amazon Prime, Apollo.
Well, that's nice. They actually tell you where to find them.
Apollo 18. That's just a movie. It has nothing to do with reality.
Oh, because there was an Apollo.
Yeah, it was a conspiracy theory version of why we stopped going to the moon. Peacock, Apollo 13, also a great movie, but it's not Apollo 11. No. And I didn't really like the movie.
Oh.
But not because I thought it was wrong, or not that I thought there was anything wrong with it. But I remember living through that, and I just didn't like seeing it again.
Oh, that way. Yeah. Hey, Daniel, welcome. Thanks for joining us. First Man was about Neil Armstrong.
Oh, Neil. Okay, yeah, First Man in Space. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, For All Mankind. This is this actually leads to I think this is a documentary, but they then actually made a series called For All Mankind, I believe. That was, what if the Soviets got there first?
Okay.
First on the moon.
Heck, they had so many firsts. I'm surprised they didn't.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff, including what is, I'm assuming, a really wonderful kids version of A Trip to the Moon. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Mission Control, I've seen that. It's on YouTube, so hey, you can watch it. So a lot of stuff in there, and then we get off topic here.
Well, and I think books and movies are sometimes a little bit more accessible than
right.
kind of regular history books. And I don't even know if these are considered history books. What do you think, Jeff?
Oh,
we're kind of debating this before the show.
The movies, yeah, the documentaries are sort of history. The books, I know they're
not like a dry textbook, is what I was thinking.
Right. They are history, they are history, but it's always, but it's not like, here's this date, here's that thing.
And it probably comes down to, who's writing them and who's contributing the information and how accurate they keep things and how dramatic they make things.
Right. I mean, I think the earlier ones are more accurate than the later ones because they had people who were there, often written by people who were there.
That makes sense, yeah.
So this Apollo...
And of course, they could be interviewed as well, right?
Right.
Whereas now we've got
really
just Buzz Aldrin. He's 93.
Yeah.
So he's pretty up there, and he might not last very long. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So, Failure is Not an Option was actually a really good book. I read that one, and
yeah, I think I read that one too.
Yeah. So, a lot of, and this is
that looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun here.
The owner's manual.
Let's get to this. They're not going to show us very much about it, but they have the various Apollo 11, Apollo 13, Saturn 5.
But I can imagine they've written them like they write the books for owner's manuals for cars.
Right. If you look, they've got the cutouts. I always love cutout images. That's just my thing.
And Jeff gathered a link for us. I actually put a link into the comment section, both on YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the stuff I found. So.
Yeah. And the one for the one that she just posted is a link to basically all of the Apollo 11 books. In fact, it's this link right here.
Yeah.
And just look at all the good stuff here. Apollo 11 flight plan. Hey, you want crunchy stuff? By National Aeronautics Space, from NASA. It's their actual flight plan. It's just, this is an entire shipment here.
Cliff says Buzz will live forever.
Yep.
He will, absolutely. Whether he will persist forever is another thing. Oh, let's see. Scott goes, out my way in Lancaster, we have a park called Apollo Park. Oh,
yep.
Very cool.
Yep, I would imagine. And speaking of the right stuff, got the DVD and these are both Amazonable. This was actually my first non-kids book about basically anything Apollo related, and
cool.
This was very good. The movie, kind of want to call it a documentary, but it was a movie. I mean, it's with the actors, and it's pretty darn good. Gives whoever was making it, and they say 1983, they were obviously talking to people who were there because it had the right feel for everything. Mm-hmm. I remembered those late 60s.
Yeah, weren't they driving around in old style Corvettes?
Yeah. Well, the entire flight crew got themselves the same matching gold Corvettes. Just because they could. So,
yeah, they were hot doggers.
Yeah. Well,
I don't even think we use that term anymore.
And some of them didn't make space because they planted into the ground while flying aircraft because they were hot doggers. The right stuff does a good job of explaining why Chuck Yeager was never an astronaut. Yeah. Which was a crying shame, but he wasn't. He wasn't a college, clean cut, kid. He was a grizzled guy who basically got stuff done. And so I think he would have been a great astronaut. He didn't have the PR.
Yeah.
So.
And I remember something about his thing was he survived all the different experimental vehicles because he had a clear understanding of how to exit the vehicle. Mm-hmm. What was it? Was it egress? How do you say it? Egress? Egress? Okay. Yeah, that was his word. Use egress.
Well, and he had a clear plan for everything.
Yeah, he'd have made a great astronaut.
And
I think the military guys, though, were picked since they knew how to not panic. That was their big deal. And it proved useful when, Apollo 11 went to land on the moon. They lost their computer. There was so much information input. Yeah.
And then, of course, Apollo 13,
tragic.
But they held it together. I mean, that was the main thing.
Yep. And what were we reading last night about? There were two different contractors who built the lunar module and the command module that ran in orbit. It was like, well, no wonder they didn't have parts that fit.
Yeah.
I didn't quite realize that before. Who was it? Lockheed Martin and I forget. Two different contractors. Yeah, I think Grumman. Which has been absorbed by now. So.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah. That's about it. Mike Collins. I think I'm going to do a profile on Mike Collins.
Yeah, we've got it scheduled for 3 weeks from now.
Yeah, because I just like him. He didn't end up on the moon. He was supposed to go on a later flight that never happened. But, he was theoretically okay with it. But I don't know how much of that was just him playing nice for the cameras.
I don't know if anybody'd be okay with getting there, but not going to the moon.
Yeah.
I think that'd be hard for anyone.
Yeah.
All right. So, and of course, the way I went was to find, and let's see, let me bring this up here. And
here, I'll get you.
to go looking for like wiki pages and Britannica, and I was just surprised as heck to see there were all these different NASA pages. There's 4 of them here, and that's possibly not even all of them. I just in the one search I made, but what a fabulous vehicle the Saturn V was. Would they have 1,000,000 pounds of thrust or something?
Yeah, something like that.
So there's some great information. You can get good handle on some of the basics. Yep, should have pulled my my dates from there. Sorry about that, folks.
Yeah, and Jerry Purnell used to go to the Cape and look at. They had the last Saturn V was just laying on the ground, and he'd go there and get so raging mad about that because they could have launched it. It was just a lawn ornament.
Yeah. Which is surprising because a lot of that stuff in the United States are models, whereas in Russia, it was real hardware too. Some of their stuff that's left on the ground.
Yeah.
So one of the great things about this one was this nice little video, and I'm not going to play it for you tonight because it's 2 minutes long, but I definitely think you want to go. Well, you can find it, Apollo 11 Moonwalk Montage. There's some pretty cool stuff in there with some of their, you hear them talking and so forth.
Yeah, and I remembered some of that when I was from when I was a kid.
Yeah, I thought there was some new stuff in there too that we hadn't seen, and I'm sure they have tons and tons and tons of footage. We just get to see the stuff that's curated, selected especially for whatever project, and like in this case, this 2-minute video of the Apollo 11 moonwalk montage. So again, lots of information about the flight, and a lot of these pictures you see. I think there might be one in here somewhere. Is it this one? Yeah. Well, a lot of these pictures are of Buzz, actually, because the camera was bolted to Neil's spacesuit.
Yeah.
Like the one that we all know and love. It's probably in here somewhere. Yeah.
Oh, isn't it that one right there?
No, it's the one where you see him full face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I meant the one that's like we only see the top part of it if you scroll up to the top of that screen.
This one here? Oh, I see what you mean. No. No, it's not.
No, the one that you were on. The page that you were on, yes. No. Yes, that one.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Now Neil is reflected in this image. Yeah, and I'm not crazy about this kind of format. Some people love it, I'm sure, but I don't know. I kind of rather prefer when it just has straight line information. Give it to me simple. So yeah, lots and lots to read about the launch, the landing, Kennedy's famous speech, of course. And they actually did have some scientific objectives. But for the most part, this was for public relations. And I heard that it was Michael Collins that designed the patch, right? So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, well, he's an artist, and I've seen a number of his works. And
I don't think I knew that Michael Collins was an artist.
Yeah, I used to have a jigsaw puzzle that was painted by him of the 3 of them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to realize that they weren't even on the surface of the moon for a full 24 hours.
Yeah.
They were there less than a day.
Yeah. Well, and one of the major things that they were finding out was, could they actually land there? I mean, in that video, they have them bending down and looking at the
this one here, right?
Yeah, at the dust, just seeing how thick the dust was because they didn't know how thick it would be.
Right.
Saying that I think it was what less than an inch or something like that thick.
I think in this one here we talked about it. Oh, it's about an inch or 2.
Yeah.
Sick. And boy, that stuff it gets into everything.
Right.
It's gonna be a real problem. We go to live there, we have to deal with that stuff.
Right. And
it's everywhere.
And I've heard that the dust is carcinogenic too.
Oh, far out.
They didn't live in it very long, except that all the way back they were living in the dust. And a lot of people were wondering, why did they put them in in quarantine?
Once they got back to Earth.
Because they were in space, right?
Yeah, at that point, nobody knew.
No one knew. And they were in spacesuits when they were outside the LEM, but they didn't have a changing room. They came back in, buttoned it up, released the air back into the LEM, and took off their helmets. So all of that dust and stuff they brought back with them. So if there was anything, they would have brought it back with them. So from a standpoint of not knowing anything, it was probably a good idea.
And from what, as we were looking through this, caught the scent of, well, that was what it was.
Oh, the scent.
They got back into the lunar module, took off their spacesuits and opened their helmets, and they smelled something. But when they had the moon rocks on Earth, opened up those sealed packages, they did not smell anything. So there's a little bit of what does the moon smell like, and can it persist?
Apparently like burnt matches.
Is that what they said? I forget. I thought it was something else.
But... Yeah, well, they gave a number of different things that were adjacent to that.
And so they have some nice milestone information on these pages of the launch. Orbit, inclination, 30 revolutions, duration. So the whole thing was 8 days, 3 hours, and 18 minutes and 35 seconds. But they were not on the moon for even a full 24 hours. So, God, I have my dates all wrong. That's a July 24th.
Yes.
What the heck did July 29th come from?
I don't know.
All right, we gotta work on that. Okay, this is not an AI. We made mistakes.
It was July 24th yesterday.
Oh, yeah. No, it wasn't.
When we were talking about it?
No, it wasn't. It was the 13th. It was June.
No, I'm saying that
July.
We were talking about the 24th for the landing.
You say we say. Are you saying it changed in the show notes? I don't know.
Or in your head, I don't know.
All right, anyway. So, yeah, of course, all the wiki pages, wonderful. Yeah, there's that picture, that full picture. And it's Buzz. A lot of people think it's Neil, but it's Buzz. Oh, I think we got a comment.
Can't wait to hear interviews from the new set of moonwalkers that we are about to get. Yeah, and we'll be talking about that next week, I think.
Yep. Spoiler. All right.
Oh, no. I ruined it.
No. All right. So, yeah, I would say this is the sort of thing interests you, history, Apollo 11, all that, the first landing on the moon. Absolutely delve right into all this. There's tons of stuff. A lot of these I've actually gone to these other pages as well. Information about each of the astronauts. I think there was something interesting here I wanted to point out for sure. I forget what it was.
Good thing you made notes of it.
Yeah. It's here.
Yep. The lunar
module. This was kind of an interesting part too. Yeah, they call it the command module and the lunar excursion module. But what did you say was wrong with LEM instead of LM? Something was.
Well, no, there wasn't anything wrong with it. It's just that they kept pronouncing it LEM, and because military, if you had a 3-letter acronym or any kind of acronym, you pronounced it.
Okay.
So LEM became the LEM, and everyone referred to it as the LEM. Apparently, some bureaucrat decided that they didn't like that, so they took the E out and just called it the lunar module, so that it was the LM.
Okay.
Because
I thought you were saying there was a problem with it the other day, but okay.
No,
that's good.
No, just that was all. That
okay, all right.
Bureaucrats had a problem with it.
Okay. So yeah, I just love all the statistics here. Where they launched and all the different places that they actually recovered them near Hawaii, which I don't think I knew. I don't think I knew that. And of course, when you're a kid and you watch this stuff, it's not necessarily sinking in, but you go back and you look, it's like, oh, that's interesting.
I guess since you think it launched from Florida, you think it'd end up in the Atlantic, but they went to the moon and back, so they could land in any of the oceans. It's just that Atlantic and Pacific are convenient for us.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about landing in the water, the Soviets don't have that luxury. They didn't have that luxury, so they just landed on land, on the dirt. So kind of interesting. And here's Kennedy's famous speech. Yeah, what was it that I wanted to point out? Ah, beautiful picture of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's down here somewhere. Oh, look at how long this is. Wow, it's a big old page.
That's because they wrapped it around the
Yeah.
photo.
What was it? What was it? All right, but again, good rabbit hole. You could keep digging as long as you would like to. Oh, I think there was something about the cruise. They had a changeover.
Oh, right here they talk about it, kind of here. Deke Slayton, the backup commander, was could have been Level. It could have been Level, Anders, and Hayes.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Yeah, so things changed, before the flight, and that happened a lot with the different crews. They changed over on a fairly, not regular basis, but that happened. Someone would get sick, so they bring in the backup person. It was, until they're in there and going, that the crew could have changed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so some good pictures of the
Yeah, and
command center.
Buzz, who was very gregarious, was trapped in a thing with two people who were loners.
Yeah.
So that was probably drove him a little bit nuts. So
Maybe. Well, at least there were two of them. So, all right. I thought this was interesting too. They got after the Apollo 10 named their spacecraft Charlie Brown and Snoopy. They were like, yeah, let's get a little more serious. So let's see. We've got Snow Cone for the command module and Haystack for the lunar module. So, yeah. But I think this is pretty famous, Charlie Brown and Snoopy. I think a lot of people know about them. And they go into all kinds of different things with the mementos. Really, you can find out so much great stuff. What a great picture of that. Wow. I love all this. Yeah, you like history? You got some really good resources here. What a beautiful picture.
Yeah, I remember Lyndon B. Johnson taking credit for the moon landing.
Okay.
Even though it was Kennedy who basically started it. But, Johnson was president at the time that it actually happened. And then for Apollo 13, Nixon was so freaked out that they might not come back because, oh no, this is a moonshot on my watch and they're going to die on my watch. And
well, so, they had, and I remember reading it in here, they had a, successful speech for if it was successful and if it was not. So, yeah. Oh, it's kind of cool too. The plaque left on the ladder of the Eagle. Ascent, all kinds of good stuff. Most of these landings occurred right around the equator.
Because it was easier.
Okay.
The equator's moving closer to the speed that they're moving when they're in orbit around it.
Oh, I see.
Just like we launched from close to the equator.
Yeah. All right. So splashdown and quarantine. Really terrific information in here. And they went into a lot of depth. Some of these wiki pages don't have anywhere near this kind of information, but it was pretty important. Oh, and I remember I read, I think Buzz Aldrin wrote a book about, the landing on the moon and coming back, and they had done so much to prepare them for the trip there, being on the surface of the moon and coming back, but they did not prepare them whatsoever for what happened afterward, all these parades and travel all over the world. They really had no clue that this was going to be such a huge and momentous deal. I mean, they probably knew, but they didn't realize that these guys were going to be going all over the world, and it really messed up marriages and both Buzz and Neil had troubles with their marriages, right?
Yeah. But, and you think about it, no one could really know how much it would be. I mean, everyone was so shocked that everyone around the world was paying attention to this.
Yeah.
Oh, here's another movie about it. The Dish.
Oh, yeah.
Has nothing to do with the people on the moon or in the space vehicle.
But it's a fabulous movie.
All about, in Australia, the guys who had the one satellite dish pointed in the right direction.
At the time.
At the time, yeah.
Yeah, that's a fun movie. So yeah, more about where this is now and what happened, and so nice that they recovered. Oh, there's a good story about the camera. They thought he lost it or left it on the moon. Well, where is it? I thought it was here too.
Oh yeah.
His wife.
Right there. Oh, people can't see that. I just pointed at the screen.
All right, it's in a different section. This
She saw
LM memorabilia. So after he died, his widow contacted the National Air and Space Museum and informed them that she had found the bag in one of his closets. So he smuggled it home. And a lot of the stuff covered with dust, covered with moon dust still. Mm-hmm. So they got it back. And actually next year is going, so in like just about a year from now, it's the 55th anniversary. So that should be significant. 50th anniversary. Actually, did my launch party on the 50th anniversary of Apollo for my book. Oh, I thought this was really cool too. They put the Saturn V rocket projected onto the Washington Monument. Isn't that cool? I think that's so cool looking. Oh, we're gonna look at this, weren't we? Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that's cool.
That's very cool.
Cliff just.
Oh, we got another comment.
Cliff's 2 dishes pointed at the moon for the TV pics. Yeah. Okay.
Interesting. Yeah. What a beautiful image, right?
Well, they eventually had to hand off.
Back this way. Yeah. Oops. One more. Okay, so I went back to the top. Yay. I should have done a... All right, so then they got a list of films. Here we go, Jeff. So here's the films and documentaries, and they don't mention the books here though.
Yeah, the big one, the big dish was
Parks, yeah, New South Wales,
yeah,
very cool. Yeah, I love that movie. I've seen it at least twice.
Yeah.
All right, so lots and lots of resources if you want to go even deeper. And so we got the people. We got the Neil Armstrong page and Buzz Aldrin's page. Look at these guys. The right stuff indeed. So yeah, definitely. And these are almost as long as well. Let's see what Buzz. Oh yeah. And Buzz actually figured out things like how they could mate with other vehicles in orbit.
Yeah.
So pretty smart guy. And here we go, Appoquinet, Ohio. Neil is from the place I'm from.
And look at how far he went to get away from Ohio.
You joke. But Neil was a good guy. All right. So then, of course, Britannica has their own page. And you can probably see a lot of the same information. I don't think they have quite as much if you look at the scroll bar here. But look at this. Isn't this neat with they broke the sound barrier. And I think they talked about it here. Yeah. But that's what it looks like when you break the sound barrier. That thing went fast. And I don't even think we knew at first how much thrust we'd have to, make to get off the Earth, to overcome gravity. Yeah, Cliff's got another comment.
Well, Gemini and Mercury did, we honed that down.
Well, I think they actually went more than they required.
Right, yeah, because they...
Movie about 50 times.
Oh, okay.
Cliff was the dish master. What?
Oh, the name. Yeah, the guy's name.
Cliff. Oh, his name was Cliff? I haven't seen it in a while, so I'll have to go watch again.
Yeah. But
here we go, July 20th. And I know people who have, that's their wedding anniversary. They got married on July 20th, so they would remember their anniversary. All right, what else do we have here? Oh, this is kind of cool. The National Air and Space Museum.
Well, people got married on
July 20th, whatever year it was, they got married.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that night, their wedding night, the Eagle has landed.
Oh boy. So this is kind of nice because of these big pictures, and it's kind of like if you really want to get a lot of information fast, they've got some just simple text and nice big pictures. and kind of the sequence of events. 1962, we choose to go to the moon. I mean, really, the accomplishment is huge because it wasn't even a decade between having nothing and having, Apollo 11 landing on the moon. I think that's just astonishing.
Yeah. They did rush things to get it done in
yeah.
69, though.
And I think we've been on some tours where they talked about it. Wasn't that the one over there? It's and they talked about like no, the other place used to be TRW.
Oh yes.
And they talked about how some of this was like just sort of slapped together. It's like, wow, okay. But a lot of these people were very young and they weren't very experienced. They really made a lot of innovation with all of this.
They were young enough that, let's be honest,
they didn't know it wasn't going to work.
A lot of Apollo, Gemini, and Mercury was hold my beer, watch this. I mean, that was kind of these guys' attitude of
just look at this beautiful picture. I think it's wonderful. So here we are, just 7 years later, and they're going. 8 years later, they say, okay. I mean, I was born in 62, and I was 7 when they did this. It's like, wow. Yep, there we go. The Eagles landed. And I think this was the first event where so many people around the world were watching.
Yeah.
It was...
At the time, it was the biggest viewed event ever.
Yeah. And so all these little links, you can read more about the different things. And there's a full timeline. I will let you go look at that and more. Oh, and they talk about the crew. Cool stuff, huh? More pages about them, the backup crew, people on the ground. Oh, we got to do...
Margaret.
We got to do a profile of Margaret Hamilton. Heck, any of these people would be fun.
Eugene Krantz would be good.
Yeah, Eugene Krantz would be great. He's a very interesting character.
Yeah. And
I didn't even know about Poppy Northcutt or Rita Rapp, so kind of knew about Margaret. But, all right, what else do we have here? I found a history page about Apollo 11 moon landing timeline from liftoff to splashdown. So they're going to have their dates right. That's a neat picture. I'd never seen that before. July 20th, 1969. Just 8 years after he threw down the gauntlet. That blows my mind.
Well, in that time, Russia had so many more firsts than we did.
Yeah.
We kind of decided, I guess they figured we needed a win. Yeah.
And we had to have a big one.
And Soviet Union kept saying that they weren't in a race for it, but yeah, they were.
Yeah, they were. I like how they have this mission time with the time, the clock thing, and they talk about the different things. And there's a bunch of videos here. There's some really good stuff in here. Oh, what a fantastic image of this mission profile.
And it shows how the moon actually changed position too over the time. Although I don't think it changed that much.
Not to scale, probably.
Yeah, not to scale.
Yeah. So, and yeah, rearranging space. This was a really amazing trip too. I mean, they launched and they took them apart, and then they landed part of it, and part of that came back and had a remate.
All of that to save weight.
Yeah.
Because
it makes a difference.
Because the original plans were to launch from here, land on the moon, and then launch from there, all in the same vehicle.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And for all of that stuff that they'd have to carry with them back and forth that they didn't need. Yeah, so that's that didn't last past the first set of math.
Yeah, weight's a big deal. I think I've talked about it. When I worked at Boeing, for every 100 pounds we could pull off of the Delta II, we could add 1 pound of payload. So that was the ratio. And I mean, things like paint makes a difference. It's a big deal. Any way you can pull weight off of a vehicle of any sort. Oh, there it is, what the moon smells like. That was kind of cool. Yeah, they got back, got to sleep. Because they were actually scheduled to land on the moon and take a sleep. And I was like, yeah, no way. Oh, Scott has a comment.
Oh. Margaret Hamilton is still alive. She's 86. Maybe we can get her on the show next week.
If you know how to hook us up,
yeah,
let's do that.
I'd love to do that.
That would be
awesome. Might not happen next week, but dang, I'd love to.
Yeah, any idea where she is, Scott? I had no idea. Okay, man, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, Cliff's got it.
Yeah, Sam Neill played the head of operations at the Dish. And
Cliff Buxton, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yes.
I think Sam did a really good job at that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think so too. All right. So let's see. Oh, here it is. The prospect of Armstrong and Aldrin being stranded on the moon was real enough that President Richard Nixon and his speechwriter William Safire had a condolence speech prepared, which began, "Fate has ordained that the men who went to the moon to explore in peace will stay on the moon to rest in peace." And I think they do this for pretty much anything.
Right.
They have something prepared in the event it works, and something prepared in the event it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Really good stuff. And what a great picture. Look at that. Oh, I think this was the first time we actually saw our home planet from another celestial body in the solar system. Beautiful. Yeah, docking. This would have been our Buzz Aldrin's.
Yeah, he's the one who did the math for that.
He took care of the physics of it. Yeah, figuring it all out. All right, so absolutely fantastic stuff here for you to look at. And this is the link that I included in the description part for you to find. So both Facebook pages and the YouTube channel has the link to this list. And it's not just books and movies and stuff. It's Fisher Space Pen and Lego stuff. And
which,
that die cast.
That always looked like a face to me.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
But the Fisher Space Pen was not developed by NASA.
No.
For millions of dollars.
No.
It was developed by Fisher. And given to NASA.
Yeah. And the Russians, they just use pencils. I love the Russians. They had so many amazing things. Like they just use pencils. Yeah. All right. So lots of fun stuff there. You can bring us back.
Okay. We're back. Back in the saddle again.
Uh-huh. He tries.
I didn't sing it.
No.
I like our audience.
All right. If you folks have any more questions, we'll be watching for those. But I think we can go to our next segment now, right? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Jeff. Take it away.
Some stellar events this week, July 14th through July 21st. Globe at Night continues. Started on the 8th and will end on the 17th, in the middle of this week. 2023 for those who are watching it later. In the north, well, if you're watching it later, this is kind of past due, but you can look up their website and see what
they've constantly got a new project to work on.
Yeah. So in the north, look for Bootes or Hercules. In the south, look for Scorpius or Hercules. My guess is that Hercules is going to be on the equator, is going to be near the equator, since you can see it in both. Use the app to take pictures and submit them to the site to measure the light pollution in your area. This is an important citizen science project.
One of our past guests, and he actually just contacted me again to set something up in the near future. He said this is a really important project. He's on the board or something. And if you can do this for your area, that they get a picture of the whole planet. If the more people that can go outside, take an image, share it with them, compare it to the ones that they have on there. It is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Okay, on the 15th, the moon rides high. I don't know. That's what it says.
What it means. It was in the almanac.
Guess it's the highest elevation in the sky.
I don't know.
It's just my guess.
Maybe Dawn knows.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Dawn's much more advanced than I am in astronomy.
Yeah. July 17th is the new moon. July 19th, Mercury and the moon are in conjunction. July 20th, the moon is at apogee.
Let's talk about the new moon, because I'm like, I've been seeing Mercury in the east before sunrise because I've been up and I'm like, oh, I'll look for Mercury, and there it is, and it was beautiful with the moon. And then I'm like, wait a minute, if the new moon, which the sun and the moon travel together in that case, it's only 2 days old. So what is it, switching over to the west now? Because yeah, I think it's going to be in the west, like as soon as the 19th, and it's been. I was in the east this morning even, so that's going to happen fast. Go ahead.
Okay, so on the 20th, moon is at apogee, which is its furthest away from us, and Venus and the moon are in conjunction, and Venus is stationary.
And the 20th is the actual.
I guess they put on the space brakes.
The 20th is the actual anniversary of Apollo 11's lunar landing. I think that just means it appears to not change in the sky. So it's like the retrograde and
it's switching between retrograde and normal. And so there's one point in which it looks like it's not moving at all.
Yeah, I still haven't figured out the whole retrograde thing. I'll have to study that someday.
July 21st, Friday night show. We'll talk about Apollo 11 a bit more, so stick around and find out about that, which I already gave away a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Find us Fridays at 9 p.m. Pacific time on the Everyday Spacer Facebook page and the Everyday Spacer YouTube channel. And also on the 21st, Mars and the moon are in conjunction. And Pluto is out at opposition. This is a good time to take photos, except that Pluto is so far away. So if you're really lucky and you have a really good setup, you might see a dot.
I tell you though, and Cliff's been sharing these on Facebook. These people are taking amazing photos of all kinds of things, deep space objects, planets. It just blows me away. All right, so what else do we have? Oh, I got to do that later. Okay, so if you or someone you know has done something interesting involving space exploration, science, astronomy, we'd love to share our live. Join us again next Friday, July the 21st. We'll talk about Apollo 11 a little bit more. We're going to ponder the future of lunar exploration, talk about Artemis a little bit. Got to research that, actually. So, yay, fun. In the future of the holiday in 100 years or so, I mean, what's that going to be like? Well, I guess not even 100 years, they'll celebrate the 100th anniversary of Apollo 11's lunar landing. That'll be, 2069? It's not that far away.
Yeah, 46 years from now, roughly.
Yeah, isn't that something? It's happening sooner. Well, it's like, that's how that goes. You sit there and you go, boy, time flies, and it sure does. I mean, it'll be 100 years in 2069, which isn't that far away. All right, anything else for you?
Nope.
We'll keep watching for your comments too. I go back and look in, especially the YouTube page. So thanks a lot, folks, for being here. Cliff and Scott and Dawn. And who else was here? Daniel was here. Thank you so much. And I know Janie is at a conference in Utah, I think it is. And she mentioned she would be gone, but we might see her next week. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much. All righty. Have a great week, folks. We'll see you on Friday.
Good night.